Hi everyone. Firstly, thank you all for joining our webinar today that will be centered around employee engagement, the impact it can have on your company's Glassdoor rating, and the subsequent effects of this. My name is Liam Doyle, product specialist here at StaffConnect, and today I will be taking you through the importance of employee engagement by highlighting the effect it can have on your recruitment and the way you are seen by those outside your business. So that we are all on the same page, I thought I would first outline what we mean by employee engagement. There are various definitions of the term of differing degrees of complexity. The definition that I'll be using comes from Gallup, that defines employee engagement as those members of staff who are involved in, enthusiastic about, and committed to their work and workplace. This definition allows us all to have a familiar understanding of the term. However, this is only a high-level understanding, and the specifics of engagement will be different for each organization, something that is dependent on a number of factors such as company goals, employee size, and which sector your company falls into. But when looking at a wider area, it is the involvement and enthusiasm that employees have within their companies. And these levels of engagement, as I'll now go on to show, have a crucial impact on the success or failure of an organization. Levels of engagement have, for a long time now, been falling, and it has been found that a staggering 87% of employees worldwide are not engaged at work, with many companies existing in a crisis while not even being aware of it. You may argue or feel that this doesn't really matter, does it? It's work, a job. Is it fundamentally necessary for your employees to be engaged as long as they do their job? This may be the case if it stopped at these, albeit startling, statistics. Unfortunately, these levels or figures go much further than the number of those employees who are not engaged. Indeed, it can stagger down to the profitability of a company. Low levels of engagement will often mean high levels of absenteeism and employee turnover, while also affecting levels of productivity, combining in a reduced profitability for a company. With statistics to show this effect, Gallup found that companies with highly engaged workforces outperformed their peers by 147%. It is clear then that it is not just a mere number of those who are engaged at work, but a far more worrying string of cause and effects that has the potential to lead, I guess, to a company's downfall. There is a further problem, however, that can also have a large impact on your company, especially in the hope of recruiting new and exciting talent. This is where we see the emergence of Glassdoor. So, in the digital age we live in, anyone who can master the basics of creating a social media account is given a voice. They are given a voice, and people use their voices in different ways, perhaps to advocate support for a worthy cause, to pass comment on a celebrity's appearance, or perhaps a brief rant on how hot the weather has been. There is, though, one way to have your voice heard that seems universally popular and showing zero sign of slowing down: online reviews. Whether it's hotels, cafes, broadband providers, university professors, anything like this, there is a review site for nearly every facet of life. Some are poorly moderated and provide little more than unsolicited insults, while others are tightly run, incredibly influential, and vitally important to those who are subject to the reviews. Glassdoor is a great example of the latter. With 800 employees and nearly 50 million visits per month, Recruit Holdings really announced its intention to pursue a 1.2 billion deal to acquire the organization. And safe to say, you don't get to be valued quite so highly if you don't hold significant sway. Given that work is a fact of life and likely to last upwards of 50 years for some, it is perhaps no surprise that I've gone too far on my slideshow, 1 second. It's perhaps no surprise that there is such interest in both getting an inside look into an organization and employees providing reviews, good or bad. Large organizations have always had loose reputations for the type of employer they were or are, whether this be a job for life or a quick stint before being moved on. Nowadays, prospective employees can visit Glassdoor and read multiple first-hand, in-depth reviews from former and current employees. They can drill down by individual location and function. From this and deploying the usual filters required when assessing online reviews, they can form a reliable, holistic view of the potential employer, and their potential fit. For companies looking to recruit the best people, their Glassdoor score isn't just an indicator of their likely success in doing so, it's a key determining factor. Any potential applicant who has taken the time to analyze their prospective employer's reviews is doubtlessly more bought into the process than their counterpart who glanced at the company wiki and the stock price on the day of the interview in case anyone asked. These are the people you want to attract, but conversely, the ones most at risk being turned off by negative reviews. Unfortunately, it is the case that with lower levels of engagement, the number of negative reviews you will receive will inevitably increase. Therefore, this downward spiral that I alluded to earlier now has a greater reach. Not only is it affecting your current employees' productivity and profitability, but also your attempts to replace these poorly engaged employees when they choose to leave. With everyone being able to voice their opinion, is engagement an area you can afford to overlook? So what are the ways you can fix this issue? How can or what can improving engagement within your organization do in your pursuit to attract as well as retain the top levels of talent? The first thing is that you can create brand ambassadors. It's well proven that engaged employees will always be more satisfied in the workplace. It's perhaps not particularly surprising, though, that they'll convert that satisfaction into displays of ambassadorial passion for your organization, which will be reflected in your, hopefully, glowing Glassdoor ratings. The next is driving positive customer experience. There is a direct and strong link between positive employee engagement levels and positive customer experiences. Employees who know that they are delivering great products accompanied with great customer service they're rightly proud of the organization and the role they play within it. This feeling of pride will therefore be reflected in the reviews that it gets. Who wouldn't be attracted to work for an organization where the current workers are so proud of what they deliver? Another fix that higher levels of employee engagement brings you are staff members who are far more loyal and easier to retain. This delivers a double whammy of lower recruitment and onboarding expenses, but also potential recruits can see that it's an organization, a company that people don't want to leave, allowing you to create a clamor of top-class candidates when you do post an opening. The final point that I will make is that positively engaged employees will often lead to a positive organizational culture, which begins to form a virtuous circle that's hard to break. A CEO who is open, seeks out feedback and ideas, and then actions them is going to be held in high esteem. Collaboration across level, function, geography. These are the kind of look-insides that excite potential candidates, but also delight current employees, shareholders, and potential investors. Now, in this webinar, I haven't really focused on how to engage your employees, but more on what happens if they aren't engaged and the impact on your recruitment and Glassdoor rating if your organization fixes these issues to create high levels of engagement within your organization. The ways to increase these levels of enthusiasm and involvement are obviously important to us as a business, and we feel that any solution used, whatever it may be, must be one that reaches the entire organization. Too often solutions, particularly communications-based solutions, rely on emails and intranets that only have limited reach and therefore are only able to affect a limited section of the company, with non-desk workers, frontline staff, usually the ones to suffer. If this is the case, then your levels of engagement and thus impact to attract the top levels of talent will still suffer. Any solution that you pursue must therefore be able to be used effectively by the entire organization. So to conclude, 50 million monthly visits. I think we can all say that's a lot of eyes on your organization. Imagine the power if all they are seeing is positivity and uplifting feedback. Internet-based reviews may be everywhere, but word of mouth is still a powerful medium when it comes to sentiment. Your engaged employees will tell anyone who will listen what a great organization they work for. This verbal testimony can help convince potential candidates who might be at the more skeptical end of trusting the validity, I guess, of online reviews. So that brings the presentation to an end. What I'll do now is open up the webinar to any questions that you might have. I believe there should be a section of your control panel where you can ask those. So I'll try my best to answer them, and I'll just give you some time to write some now. Okay, so we have a question here, which is, how would you suggest to engage your employees? Good question. I guess it is the key question, really, because yes, we know that employees aren't engaged and what happens when they are engaged, but how do you go? How do you make that step? The main thing for me is giving your employees a voice. But before you do that, you need to give them access or a channel for a voice. They can't talk about anything if they have nowhere to talk through. So, as I mentioned at the end of the presentation, it is really key to ensure that any comm solution that you're using for engagement, or more specifically communications, is company-wide and can be accessed by anyone within the organization, to make sure you're not really alienating anyone, specifically non-desk workers. You know, they're not by a computer all day. They don't really see emails that often. They might not have an email account. Therefore, you know, all they get are newsletters or out of date notice boards and stuff like that, which it's demoralizing really as employees. So ensure that you have a solution that can be reached by or accessed by every single person within the organization. The next part of that question is ensuring that your employees have a voice, and not only a voice, but one more specifically that is heard in your organization. So not an annual survey, but pulse surveys to make sure you're getting instant feedback from what's going on. Also, a tool can post about their own experiences and stuff and their own kind of updates in their work lives, making sure that they're aware of the benefits that they kind of have access to, and just ensuring that they are a larger part of the decisions and the feedback that are going on with the organization. When you start giving them a voice, you will start getting feedback from them, and they will be able to then help you on how to kind of increase those levels of engagement further. So in short, to answer that question, I would say it's really giving your employees a voice and how you give your employees a voice. Hopefully I answered that well enough for you. No more questions have come through, so if there are no more, then what I'll do is I'll bring the webinar to a close. I would like to thank you all for taking the time out of your Tuesdays. I know it's been a short session today, but I would like to thank you for joining us. And if you would like to find out more about staff engagement or comms or StaffConnect in particular, if I just get my contact details on screen, is that going to work? There we go. Contact details are on screen. Please feel free, send me an email, give me a call. We can start those discussions, and yeah, I guess we can go from there. One thing I will last mention is I saw a report, actually, some data from a group called Glint, which really shows the correlation between employee engagement and the levels of employee engagement and Glassdoor. So what I'll do is I'll be sending up a follow-up email to you all after the webinar. So I'll just include a link to that. It's a good read, and hopefully it'll give you a bit more information. Otherwise, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and thanks again for joining us. Thanks. Bye.